Welcome to Terra Savage, where ancient secrets are unearthed from rock and sand, where predators that went extinct tens of millions of years ago come alive through each fossil. Today, we will step away from the rainforest we often imagine when we think of prehistoric monsters and walk into a place that seems to hold nothing at all. The Kutch Desert, Gujarat, India. Under blistering sunlight and on sun-baked laterite, a chance discovery of a chain of vertebrae challenged everything science thought it knew, revealing a giant snake that could reach up to 15 meters, a direct rival to Titanoboa, the species regarded as the king of snakes in history. The question is Titanoboa truly the undisputed ruler? Or is there another challenger, Vasuki indicus, that is actually the longest snake ever to have lived on Earth? Stay until the end of the video to find out the answer. Fossils, an epic carved in stone. There are stories told by bone and stone, and a paleontologist has spent a lifetime searching for them. Often, the greatest discoveries do not come from where people look. They appear in the most unexpected places, in dusty mines, where a human hand accidentally brushes against a fragment of the past. The story of Vasuki indicus begins just like that. In 2005, in a lignite mine in Panandhro, a worker happened upon a strange series of bones. At first, scientists mistook them for the remains of a giant crocodile, but they were wrong, and that mistake opened a hunt of intellect to decode one of the greatest predators Earth ever produced. Let's move closer together, leaving behind the scorching heat of the desert. On a laboratory table, 27 preclocal vertebrae lie there, carefully arranged like a string of precious pearls polished by time. They are not just lifeless rocks, they are clues, each vertebra a detailed blueprint of a colossal body. To understand the story they tell, a paleontologist must become a detective. They look not only at the length of the vertebrae, from 37.5 to 62.7 millimeters, but also at their width, from 62.4 to 111.4 millimeters. This reveals that Vasuki indicus was not a long, slender snake, but had a broad, cylindrical body. This is the moment to focus on detail. Picture a snake vertebra as a complex architectural block. There is the centrum, the main bony body, working like a ball and socket joint that lets the body bend without twisting. Above it stands the neural spine, a vertical projection that anchors the snake's powerful musculature. And on either side are the propophyses, smaller projections where the ribs attach. Each of these features is a vital signpost. The shape of Vasuki indicus's vertebrae indicates it moved by rectilinear locomotion, a mode of movement common in large, slow snakes. It is physical evidence, etched in stone, of a colossal predator, a life from the past waiting to be uncovered. But how do you turn a string of vertebrae into a 15-meter monster? That is the question scientists had to face. Without a complete skeleton, they had to extrapolate from the size and position of the vertebrae by comparison with modern pythons and anacondas. This is not a wild guess, but a process based on predictive regression equations, a careful calculation to determine body proportions. Applying this method, they obtained two different length estimates from different measurement points on the vertebrae. One equation yielded a more conservative result, around 10.9 to 12.2 meters, 36 to 40 feet, but a second equation, based on pre-Zegapa-physial width, pushed the limit to 14.5 to 15.2 meters, 48 to 50 feet. Although there is a difference, this range is not a weakness of science. On the contrary, it shows the honesty of the research process and creates astonishing drama. It tells us that Vasuki indicus was not just a giant snake. It may have been one of the longest snakes ever to exist. With an estimate longer than a school bus and weighing about 1 ton, this monster completely changes how we view life on Earth 47 million years ago. It challenged every limit of biology and physics. It is no longer a legend. This is a fact. And that leads to a question that haunts anyone who encounters a discovery like this. If confronted with this monster in real life, in a humid forest, would a modern hunting rifle be enough to bring it down? Or would that person become yet another meal in a world that does not play by our rules? The bigger one, Vasuki indicus versus Titanoboa. In the world of prehistoric giant snakes, only one name has stood above all: Titanoboa cerrejonensis, with an average estimated length of about 12.8 meters, 42 feet, and a mass reaching 1,135 kilograms. Titanoboa was the apex predator in the tropical forests of Colombia around 58 million years ago. It is the known king, an undisputed ruler in the period just after the dinosaurs went extinct. But every reign faces a challenger. Vasuki indicus comes from a different time in a different continent, yet its size poses a direct question. Does Titanoboa remain the undisputed king? To answer this, scientists compared Vasuki indicus with two other giant snakes, Titanoboa and Africa's Gigantophis garstini. Gigantophis, another member of the MADTSOIID family, is thought to have reached around 13 meters. This is the time to look at the numbers in detail. Below is a comparison of the three giant snakes, alongside the largest modern snakes, to give viewers a clear picture. As you can see, the highest estimates for Vasuki indicus exceed Titanoboa's average figure. However, Vasuki's vertebrae are slightly smaller than Titanoboa's, which leads some scientists to believe Titanoboa may still have been heavier. This is not a contradiction, but an example of the incomplete nature of the fossil record. We cannot deliver an absolute verdict, but clearly Vasuki indicus is a worthy rival. It has shattered assumptions about the size limits of snakes, so the answer is not a single name. Titanoboa may remain the heavier snake, but Vasuki indicus may be the longest. That makes the debate more fascinating than ever. 47 million years ago, tropical India, swamp forests. To understand why a snake could reach this size, the audience must travel back 47 million years to a planet we would barely recognize. The Middle Eocene was one of Earth's warmest greenhouse intervals. The global mean temperature was about 23 degrees Celsius, higher than today's average of 17 degrees Celsius. And in tropical regions like India, the mean is estimated around 28 degrees Celsius. For cold-blooded animals like snakes, ambient temperature determines their growth. The higher the temperature, the faster the metabolism, allowing them to absorb and use energy more efficiently to grow. The environment was not incidental. It powered Vasuki indicus's development. The land it inhabited was a marsh, a transition zone between sea and land with brackish pools and mangrove forests, creating the perfect setting for an ambush predator. Given its gigantic size, Vasuki indicus was certainly not an active chaser. It was too big and heavy to pursue prey. Instead, it was an ambush killer, patient and slow, lying motionless in pools or beneath dense foliage, waiting for an unlucky animal to pass. Its build with a broad, cylindrical body indicates it was not fully aquatic, but likely terrestrial or semi-aquatic. This is similar to how modern giant pythons and anacondas ambush their prey. This lifestyle let it conserve energy and strike only when necessary, making it a terrifyingly efficient killing machine. In a world of steam and dense forests, Vasuki indicus was not the only predator. But given its size, the question is, what did it eat? Fossils from the same region show a diverse ecosystem where Vasuki indicus could have fed on giant catfish, turtles, and ancient crocodiles. But the most compelling and astonishing prey were mammals, the ancestors of whales, called protocetids, such as Kutch and Androsiphius. These creatures still had legs and lived partly on land. Imagine the ancestors of today's whales facing a threat from land, a giant snake capable of attacking them in shallow water or on the shore. This is a dramatic reality that upends our notion of the food chain. The MADTSOIID lineage, origins and dispersal. Vasuki indicus was not a venomous snake, but a member of the MADTSOIID, an extinct snake family. They were very different from modern pythons and anacondas. These were ancient snakes, present since the Cretaceous, and persisting for about 100 million years. They once ranged across the ancient supercontinent Gondwana, from South America and Africa to India, Australia, and even Europe. They had more primitive jaw structures and were less adapted than modern snakes for swallowing very large prey. This broad distribution is living proof of geology. Picture India as a giant island that split from Gondwana and drifted north for millions of years. Vasuki indicus is evidence that India's ecosystems evolved independently during that time. Around 50 million years ago, in the Eocene, the Indian subcontinent collided forcefully with Asia, a geologic event that created the Himalayas. This collision did more than raise the highest mountains. It also formed a land corridor that allowed animals to disperse. This event may have enabled Vasuki indicus or its ancestors to move from the Indian subcontinent to Africa and Europe, explaining its kinship with Gigantophis and other MADTSOIIDs. A colossal body, constriction, mechanics and physiological limits. How a snake kills by constriction is often a mystery to non-specialists. People tend to think snakes squeeze until bones break or bodies are crushed. That is a misconception. Scientific studies show constriction is more subtle and more ruthless. Pressure from the coils stops blood circulation, cutting off oxygen to vital organs such as the heart and brain. It induces unconsciousness within seconds and cardiac arrest shortly after. After each squeeze, the snake feels the prey's heartbeat to ensure it has stopped. This method is not only effective but energy efficient, crucial for a giant like Vasuki indicus. The existence of a giant like Vasuki indicus was not accidental. It was a direct product of its environment. Like other snakes, it was cold-blooded, ectothermic. Its enormous size could only be achieved and maintained in a warm, stable climate. This gigantism is a double-edged sword. On one hand, it made Vasuki indicus almost unassailable. On the other, it imposed strict physiological limits. The snake needed an ecosystem with enough massive prey to sustain its weight while coping with the challenges of heat exchange. Thus, the existence of Vasuki indicus stands as a powerful statement about the delicate balance between biology and climate, a statement we are confronting today. The fossil journey from mine to lab. After discovery, the journey of these bones had only just begun. From a dusty mine, they were transported to the laboratory at the Indian Institute of Technology Roorkee. There, the meticulous, patient work truly began. Scientists led by Debajit Datta and Sunil Bajpai had to clean and conserve each vertebra. They used advanced technology like CT scanning to analyze internal structures without damaging the fossils. Each vertebra was carefully labeled and compared morphologically with hundreds of specimens from known snake species. The process was like assembling a massive jigsaw puzzle with only a few pieces. Thanks to this painstaking effort, they determined these bones did not belong to any known snake. That was when they named it, both scientific and richly cultural, Vasuki indicus. Vasuki is the name of the mythic serpent king in Hindu tradition, and indicus means of India. The world often loves perfect stories, but science does not. Some vertebrae of Vasuki indicus were incomplete, worn, and damaged by time. Yet even with imperfect data, the chain of 27 vertebrae was strong enough for scientists to reconstruct a reliable length model. This shows that science does not require perfection. It requires intelligence, patience, and inference. Recreating a giant from small, incomplete fragments is what makes science greater than myth. The legacy of Vasuki indicus. What do we learn? The story of Vasuki indicus does not have a happy ending. About 33.9 million years ago, Earth underwent a major climatic event known as the Eocene-Oligocene transition, EOT, or the Grande Coupure. It was a global cooling that drove many large animals, which had thrived in Eocene warmth, to extinction. Vasuki indicus did not die because of a rival or an enemy. It died because the environment changed. As global temperatures dropped, its metabolism slowed. The giant prey it relied on also disappeared with the warmth. Its colossal size, once an advantage, became a burden, a death sentence for this snake. So people ask, with today's global warming, could giant snakes return? Theoretically, a warmer world could favor larger ectotherms, but there is a crucial difference. Eocene warming unfolded over millions of years, allowing organisms time to evolve and adapt. Today's warming is happening at a breakneck pace, within a few hundred years, thousands of times faster than natural events. Added to that, habitat loss and human interference make a comeback by a species like Vasuki indicus nearly impossible. The legacy of Vasuki indicus reminds us that life's greatest strength is not size or power, but adaptability. When the environment changes too quickly, even giants cannot survive. The story of Vasuki Indicus is not merely a journey into the past to uncover a giant. It is a powerful reminder of life's fragility in the face of planetary change. This serpent king ruled a world we can barely imagine, hotter, more intense, and left us an important lesson. Its bones tell us that life can push limits to unthinkable extremes, but they also teach that lessons from the past can guide our future. Vasuki Indicus is not a monster, it is a teacher, and its lesson is a warning from 47 million years ago. Cherish the fragile balance of ecosystems, because once it collapses, even kings must retreat. Vasuki Indicus was forged in the greenhouse climate of the Eocene and felled by the global cooling of the EOT. High, humid, and stable temperatures pushed a cold-blooded snake to its upper extreme. A cylindrical body, thick musculature, rectilinear movement, ambushes in brackish zones. Powerful enough to subdue turtles, ancient crocodiles, and even protocetids at the water's edge. In mass, Titanoboa may have the edge, but with estimates brushing 15 meters, Vasuki Indicus is very likely the longest snake ever to have lived. Then, as Earth entered a mild ice age, giant prey vanished. Metabolism slowed. The advantage of size turned into a burden. The reign ended not by an enemy, but by a changing climate. Thus, the answer to the opening mystery stands clear. Vasuki Indicus reached its extreme thanks to a greenhouse climate, and when the world turned cold, it had to exit the evolutionary stage. The lesson of Vasuki Indicus is not about absolute strength, but about the thin line between adaptation and collapse. A desert kept the secret of a serpent king. As our present warms, how long can we keep its lesson? Don't forget to like, subscribe, and ring the bell so you won't miss the next journeys back in time. Let's keep exploring the mysteries still waiting for us, because nature still holds miracles that go far beyond the idea of immortality.